Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adventures in One Love. I'm Lydia, and I'm with Emily, who is the owner and founder of the Gratitude Tea House. Emily, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, I'm excited because the Lord is doing something really exciting in entrepreneurship, and we connected actually on a mission trip in Puerto Rico back in March of 2022, and so you were kind of sharing a little bit of your dream then. So share a little bit about Gratitude Tea House. How did you get started? And what did the transition look like? Because it's been a little bit of a transition.
Yes, definitely a transition to say the least. So in 2020, at first, I want to start off, I had no desire to start a business. I've been working for a digital marketing company and I love supporting people in their vision and their dreams and just helping them with operations. So no desire in my heart to do that. But in 2020, I'm sitting on a couch. It's the middle of the pandemic and I'm talking to my pastors. And my pastor's sharing with me her dream to start a business. I said, this is amazing. And I'm sitting there, I hear this voice and I knew it was the Lord. And he said, I want you to start a tea business. And it was so opposite from what she was talking about. She's talking about ministry and coaching. And I had nothing to do with what she was saying. And so when I heard it, I kind of was in shock and I let her continue and I kind of just went on. And so where she lived was 2 hours away from where Seth and I were living at the time. Seth is my husband. And for those that don't know. And so on the way back, I explained to Seth, I said, Seth, I think I heard this from the Lord. And he gets so excited, starts sharing like all the things we can do with the tea business. And I said, no. Like, I don't even think I want to do this. This is just what I heard from the Lord. Like, I'm not ready to unravel all these things. And so that kind of just sat in my heart for a while. And I remember in 2019, as I was doing a leadership train, it wasn't a leadership training school, I'm sorry. I was doing a ministry school in Texas called Lifestyle Christianity. And I remember the Lord saying, like, you're going to be here for a season, but then I'm going to have you go home and you're going to focus on business and family. I said, awesome. So then when 2020 hits, the pandemic occurred and I knew I was going back home. And so that during that time, I knew that I was focusing on family just because there was a lot of sickness going on and my family wasn't doing too well. So I gave all my energy to that. And then when 2022 came around, I remember just like dreaming with the Lord, saying like, okay, what is this year going to be about? I'm so excited because I know last year was about family. And I remember him saying, this year is about business. It's time to start the tea business. I said, okay. I was so nervous because I never started a business, but I know so many entrepreneurs. So I knew he was going to connect me to people to like help me. So that's when it began. And by March, I kind of had a vision or a plan for like who's going to be the supplier and what the tea was going to be about. But in that season, I said, I'm not going to do this by myself. Like I didn't even want to do this. So Lord, if this is your will, like you have to give me the ideas, you have to give me the color scheme, everything. And so I would go to sleep and I would have these dreams of like the color scheme of what the business was going to be about. I saw the logo. I saw, just like different things that the Lord wanted to do with it. And I said, okay, well, this is really on your heart. I'm going to be obedient and I'm going to just continue with it. So my really good friend at the time, and we connected because she went on a Puerto Rico trip with God Set Me Free, but we didn't go on the same Puerto Rico trip. She is a designer, a web designer. So she started like helping. I was explaining what I was seeing in my dreams and she drew it all out. I'm like, this is exactly it. Like, it's so crazy. So she had it all out and I kind of just started from there. And as I was pursuing the Lord and like what the mission of the business is, he reminded me of like all the times I went to farmers markets and my heart would break for all the new age that was happening there. And not only like with the crystals and everything that they were bringing into the farmers markets, but the tea businesses. A lot of tea businesses are rooted in Hinduism and different religions. And I was like, man, I would really love the Lord to get the glory for tea and for different herbs. And for him to have a presence in farmers markets. That's really what I wanted. And I knew that if I wasn't seeing it, then he was going to make me do it. So, and now I know that tea is the avenue for that. So that's how the dream started. And that was back in 2020, and then by March of 2022, I began to build. And then by August, so last month, I launched it. Yes.
So you're fully invested because you stopped working full time.
Yes. Also in March, I heard the Lord say, what if I told you to quit your job? And that also freaked me out because I loved my job at the time, and I loved the people that I worked for. And but I knew that I had to do that in order to give everything into this business. And so I decided to transition out, and that took me a couple months because I had to train somebody in the job that I was in, kind of created my position. So I got to train this woman. She's amazing. She learned so quickly. So it took her about a month and a half maybe. And then, yeah, I was fully out.
So what has the transition from full-time employee in someone else's organization to full-time employee in your own business? What are the biggest differences for somebody who may not be familiar with entrepreneurship at all?
Yeah, the biggest difference for me is that things are not going to get done unless I get it done. And so I've been so used to even going to college, like you get used to somebody telling you what to do and the assignments, and you write down, okay, I'm going to get this done by this date. But you don't, when you're an entrepreneur, you don't know what you need to get done until you look at a pen and paper and you're like, okay, well, this needs to get built out. And you have all these things in front of you, and it's almost too much. It's overwhelming. It's too much to bear. But that's why I think like with the Holy Spirit, everything is possible. He puts everything in order. He connects you to the right people. And then it becomes simple and easy because you're like, yes, you're doing it by yourself, but really you're not, because God puts everything in order in your mind.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds easy to say, but really you are completely reliant on the Lord. You're like, this is you told me to do this. This is not even something that you were like, I've always wanted this. This is something that you were like, okay, this is new.
Right. And I love tea. It's not like something that I didn't know anything about and I jumped into. No, I've been drinking tea for a while and I love the effects of it and the benefits. So he knew it was something that I enjoyed and something that I would love to enjoy doing for the rest of my life.
Gratitude Tea House. What are the products? What exactly are you offering as part of this tea house?
So I got in contact with the supplier and I got to choose the different teas that I wanted. So I'll show some of them. Also the mission is really important. Yes. So the mission is to provide quality tea for people to enjoy during their devotional time with Jesus.
Perfect.
So the first one is morning rise, because usually you wake up and you get your cup of tea, or some people like cup of coffee, but my thing has always been tea. And so starting with morning rise and waking up and helping yourself get into prayer, worship, because I'm not going to lie, sometimes you're just so exhausted that you need something to wake you up. And so this one really helps. And then there's the immunity tea for building up your gut. It has ginger and turmeric. So amazing. It actually tastes really good too. It's one of the best ones that have a lot of flavor. And then berry matcha. This has a lot of caffeine as well. And it tastes amazing. So if you haven't tasted it, it is amazing. Cozy Vanilla is our best seller. This is a Rubio's tea. Has many benefits for digestive system, but then also cholesterol. Mm-hmm.
Very
and
nice.
Then my last one is Dream Tea, to help you have the best dreams ever.
I love the mission that it is intention to have tea when you are having your devotional time with Jesus. And so, I mean, you have a beautiful presence online on Instagram. We'll make sure that the links are below. Everything really is beautiful. And so I love that, like the Lord gave you the dreams for the colors and the way it's going to look. How are you how are you building community as a new entrepreneur with the intention to encourage devotional time, like enjoying this tea with your devotional time?
That is a great question. I know a lot of businesses, they branch out to so many different platforms. But for me, because it takes me a little while to learn things and I love simplicity, I've kept it all on Instagram. Instagram and Shopify is where I sell, but Instagram is where I build my following. And then obviously you build trust by showing the products and showing what you're about. But the community has really came from like sharing my devotional time with the Lord. And that's something that I've kept to myself for so many years. Like, I mean, the Bible says like go into your secret place. So it's always just been my place with the Lord. So to open that up to Instagram has been a little bit difficult, but I'm hoping that God uses it to encourage people to do the same thing, to wake up and have Jesus the first thing on their mind and to want to spend time with him early in the morning. So what I do is I always post a picture of my Bible or like a video of the worship that I'm listening to. And then I have people comment back, and I know a lot of people talk and they're like, how do you wake up that early? Or, what do you do to prepare yourself to, wake up like that? And so I get to walk them through those tips as well, because I didn't just start waking up at 4 a.m. out of nowhere. Like that came with so much practice and discipline. But then having that desire in your heart, like I get to meet with Jesus today. Like it's not just a duty, but it's a love. Like I get to have this date almost with God. Yeah.
I love that you say it that way. And, I'm going to be super transparent. And you and I have talked about this, it's like a love-hate relationship with social media. There can be a lot of disingenuous, shallow people and businesses online that it can steal your like ability to really enjoy the content that you're getting, because there's always this little bit of doubt, like, is that for real? And I'm so grateful. Like when you shared your heart on the mission trip, I was like, wow, God, that's so beautiful. But then I also got to see you live your life out for Christ. And it was so genuine. And so I just want to, like, as a fly on the wall witness, I mean, the way that you love the Lord is so tender and beautiful and sweet. And I love that the Lord is, because I think that's what he's calling us all to, is just be with me. We need him more than ever. Not just teacher. We need teachers. We need counselors. We need good pastors, but we need him. We need to be with him. And so I love that the call is to create intimate time with him. And you really are such a great example of what that looks like. So I'm grateful to know you personally, but I'm also super proud of you, because to step out and be obedient. I mean, it's one thing to like have that time that is precious, but then to expose that time that's really precious to you for business. For me, I know that the Lord is like, people need to see how it looks. People need to understand like that it's not as hard as they're making it seem.
Right.
And it's also like, but Lord, this is like me and you time. Like, I don't want everybody to know these things. And so but it can feel scary and it can feel exposing.
That's so true. And I remember like growing up and not even knowing that like you could wake up and spend time in your Bible. I just didn't see that as an option. And I know so many young people are on social media. Like if we make it practical for them and like walk them through it, just like I'm walking people through like how to make loose leaf tea and having videos like that, like we can also walk people through like waking up early and spending time with him. Or if you're a night person, then spend time with him during that time. But like putting your phone aside, which is so difficult to explain when you're explaining on social media. So there's that wrestle as well of like, okay, God, like I want to be so sensitive to your prompting of like when it's time to get off of social media, because sometimes you just get trapped. Like that's just the reality of it. But putting it aside and saying, okay, I'm going to pursue you. I'm not going to continue scrolling, but I'm going to put this aside so my heart can stay connected. Yeah, because we want to connect to the world, but sometimes you lose that connection to the Lord. So having that, I don't even want to say balance, because it's not really a balance, but like the rhythm.
Oh, I like that. The rhythm. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you see for the future of Gratitude Tea House?
Oh, this is such a good question. A dream of mine would be to, one, it's not a huge dream, but to get into farmers markets right now, it's not easy for me because I only have 5 teas. There's people in these farmers markets that have over 20, so they have a variety. But my thing is like, I always want to keep it simple and keep it centered on Jesus. So like how I envision it is like having a huge banner behind me that says Jesus, and then like the teas on the table, so that people can see that. And it's not something that they have to guess, like, is she a believer? Is she not? Like, no, she's a believer. So that's one of the small dreams. And then to provide quality tea for church cafes. That's a dream.
Very cool.
Because right now,
there's church pastors and leaders, if you're watching,
there's so many churches that are purchasing tea and coffee from just different places because they have great tea and coffee, but I'm sure they would want to promote a Christian-based business. So connecting with those people and just getting the word out there. I don't have the vision to get like really big and for everybody to know my business. I would love to stay small, but stay so connected to the people that are involved. And then obviously to have like community groups, whether it's online or at home, but people coming over and having prayer nights and having worship nights, and then obviously quality tea right beside. So I feel like the common denominator is like just getting centered around Jesus.
I love that. I love it. Well, I'm super proud of you. I know that God is pleased. What is a word of advice to that person who may be called to entrepreneurship, called to stepping out and doing something on their own? What is some advice that you would give them?
I think the best advice I could give is to trust the Lord in that process. And then something that I always remember is, if I don't do it, who else will? So there's not very many believers that are out there in the marketplace and in politics and all these other spheres of influence, but God is asking, like he trusts, if he's put it on your heart, then he trusts you to do it. And then he's also expecting you to trust him to get it done.
Yeah, it's a partnership. He wants to do this with us. And, even before we started recording the conversation, we talked about like, he wants his sons and daughters in every sphere of influence. And that includes food and that includes entertainment and politics, all those things. And that's a different message than the church really has heard for generations. Really, it's been like being in the church was the priority. And now the Lord is like, get out of the church. The church has a purpose, but I need you to be active outside and be bold for me in the marketplace. So I love, like you said, like a big banner of Jesus.
Yes.
I love that. Lord, I want to go to a farmer's market and see that. I want to buy your tea. So I bought your tea. I was able to enjoy some of it. I've been doing some traveling, so it's challenging, but I love tea. I deal with some autoimmune issues, and my youngest daughter does as well. And so we are always looking for natural ways to treat things like inflammation and digestive issues. And so I'm a fan.
Thank you so much.
I love it. And everything, it really is so beautiful. I really can like leave it on the counters and it looks so pretty. So, we have the coffee station. We love coffee. We support, Hacienda Tres Angeles in Puerto Rico with their coffee. And now we have your tea. I'm like, we're set.
Yes.
We have what we need. Well, Emily, I just want to thank you for taking the time to share what God is doing at Gratitude Tea House with you and this new journey. I hope that we get to send in pictures when you are at the farmer's market. Send in pictures when you get your tea into those churches. Those are definitely things that are coming in the future. I believe it with you.
Oh, excited for it. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Adventures in One Love. Remember, guys, it starts with one. It starts with you being obedient to what he's put on your heart, because it's all about him. We love you guys. God bless you.